Senator Chandler.
Thank you, President. My question is to the Minister representing the Minister for Climate Change and Energy, Senator Ayres. Yesterday, Minister Bowen was asked how many service stations in Australia have run out of fuel, and he could not provide a national figure. If the Albanese government is in control of this crisis, why can't you tell Australians how many service stations across the country have run dry?
Thank you, Senator Chandler. Minister Ayres.
Well, as I'm sure if you'd buttonholed Minister Bowen on the way in here, he would have told you that we have precisely those figures available, and this government has been completely transparent with the Australian people about what is happening. I mean, if the question was about what are they, well, then I would have been delighted to answer. But instead, I have a minute and a half to explain what figures we have. And if Senator Chandler wants to ask what they are, well, I'm sure I'd be delighted to support her question with an answer. It is true that while we have, at a national level, both because of the minimum stock holding, which did not exist when we came to government, and because of the fact that this government has released 20% of the stock holding, that does not mean that all of the work is done, particularly in regional Australia, particularly in some petrol stations, like, for example, in New South Wales, where there are 164 petrol stations with no diesel. Overwhelmingly, well, it's 7%. 7%. And that is those petrol stations will be overwhelmingly in regional Australia, and that is where farmers are currently, for example, undertaking winter planting. That is why the 20% additional has been released. It is in order to free up, particularly for those independent retailers who have struggled to get hold of that supply in the environment that we're in.
Thank you, Minister. Senator Chandler, first supplementary.
Thank you, President. Given what the Minister alluded to in his response, what is the national total of how many service stations across this country have run dry?
Thank you, Senator Chandler. Minister Ayres.
Well, I'll start in Tasmania, if that assists you, Senator Chandler. In Tasmania, 0.4%, that is one, petrol station is without diesel. Well, that is a problem. One is a problem. In Tasmania, 6 petrol stations, that is 2% of Tasmanian petrol stations, are without petrol, or without unleaded, I should say. Nationally, see, I have 60 seconds, and just, pace yourself, Senator O'Sullivan. Pace yourself, Senator O'Sullivan. At a national level, in terms of there are 9% of petrol stations nationally with one or more grade unavailable. That is, they may have diesel but not have unleaded petrol. They may have unleaded petrol but not have diesel. That is 9%. And what that emphasises is that the government's approach, which I'm sure I'll be happy to take.
Senator Chandler, second supplementary.
Thank you, President. Minister, why couldn't you or Minister Bowen provide this information to Australians yesterday?
Thank you, Senator Chandler. Minister Ayres.
Well, what the government has done here is to provide, on a weekly basis, and the minimum stockholding legislation that is in place requires a quarterly update, but provide, because of the situation that we're in, a weekly update. And the purpose of the weekly update is so that Australians understand what there is in terms of the minimum stock holding that is at hand. And the message that we are trying to send to the Australian people is that not a complacency message. Well,
Minister,
I couldn't be more
resume your
directly
seat.
answered.
Senator Chandler.
President, it was a very narrowly worded supplement. Sorry, apologies, President. The point of order is relevance. It was a very narrowly worded supplementary question. I merely want to know why this information wasn't provided yesterday.
Senator Chandler, and the minister's being relevant to the question. Please continue, Minister Ayres.
Yeah, it's the message that we're sending that Australians are listening to about not purchasing more than is required. Not purchasing more than is required. And the feedback that we get from petrol stations is that people are overwhelmingly following that advice because there is confidence that while this is not a straightforward proposition and requires
effort. The time for answering has expired. Senator O'Neill.
Thank you very much, President. And my question is for the Minister for Trade and Tourism, Senator Farrell. And I'm sure that I join with everyone in congratulating you on your leadership in that very important portfolio.
Order.
The European Union is the second largest economy in the world, with a population of 450 million people and boasting a GDP of approximately $31 trillion as of 2025. Today, the Albanese Labor government announced a free trade agreement with the European Union, marking the culmination of 8 years of complex negotiations. What will this deal with the European Union deliver for Australia and, in particular, Minister Farrell, for Australian workers?
Thank you, Senator O'Neill. Minister Farrell.
Thank you, President, and thank you, Senator O'Neill. I know you realise the benefits of this new agreement for your great state of New South Wales. And I'm pleased to say that yesterday afternoon, on a visit with Maros Sefcovic, we reached agreement on the FTA with the European Union.
I'm sorry, Minister Farrell. Order across the chamber, but more particularly on my left. Minister Farrell, please continue.
This is a historic achievement, a deal that delivers for Australian farmers, Australian miners, Australian manufacturers, winemakers, service suppliers and many, many more. This government does not do deals just for—
Minister Farrell, I'm sorry. Senator McKenzie, I've called the chamber to order and your constant interjecting is disorderly and disrespectful to me and this chamber. Minister Farrell, please continue.
We only do deals when they are in our national interest, outcomes that deliver for all Australians. This is a once-in-a-generation trade agreement with the world's largest economy. It opens access to a market of 27 countries and 450 million consumers, a huge opportunity for our world-class producers, farmers, winemakers, businesses and exporters. Lower tariffs on imports from the EU, including what's on the shelf at supermarkets, will create more choices at lower prices, providing some further welcome relief to those Aussies who are doing it tough right now. This deal also shows the Albanese government's commitment to a rules-based system at a time of global uncertainty. A trade agreement with the EU means that our network of free trade agreements covers almost 90% of the globe. Australia is a trading nation, and we've always been a trading nation. 1 in 4 Australian jobs relate to trade. Labor is always delivering for Australian workers, Madam President, and this historic deal is yet another example of the Albanese government's commitment to growing Australia's economy and ensuring everyone benefits.
Senator O'Neill, first supplementary.
Thank you very much for that comprehensive answer, Minister Farrell. Now, the European Union was, until today, Australia's largest trading partner without a free trade agreement. By securing this deal, the Albanese Labor government has made Australia's economy more resilient and our exports more diverse.
Order. Order. Senator Watt and Senator Canavan, if you want to carry on a discussion, may I invite you to leave the chamber. Senator O'Neill, please continue.
Thank you. So, by securing this deal, the Albanese Labor government has made Australia's economy—
Order.
By securing this deal, the Albanese Labor government—
I'm sorry, Senator O'Neill. Senator Wong?
I would request that Senator O'Neill be able to commence that question again. She was interrupted multiple times by members of the opposition, and I'm sure Senator Farrell would appreciate the full question being provided.
Order. 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 Senator O'Neill, if you just do the last couple of sentences.
By securing this deal, the Albanese Labor government has made Australia's economy more resilient and our exports more diverse. How will this trade agreement with the European Union deliver real economic benefits to Australian farmers and miners?
Thank you, Senator O'Neill. Senator Farrell.
Thank you, President, and again thank Senator O'Neill for her first supplementary question. This deal delivers for all Australians. It delivers for cattle farmers in Western Australia and the Territory, dairy farmers in Victoria and Tasmania, sugar growers in Queensland, rice growers in New South Wales, winemakers in South Australia. Australians can keep using words like Parmesan and Prosecco and Kransky. Tariffs are removed on dairy and rice. 700% more beef access to the European market. 430.
Minister Farrell, I'm sorry. Order. Order. Senator Henderson, I'm not quite sure why you're on your feet, but I called order, so if you would sit down, please. Order. I can barely hear Minister Farrell, and he is quite close to me because of the disorder coming from the left. Minister Farrell, please continue.
Wine producers will save nearly $37 million by not paying tariffs. They're good people, winemakers too. Australian producers of onions, potatoes, carrots, nuts, honey, olive oil, wheat, barley and seafood will benefit by tariff elimination. It's a win for the miners and hard-working Aussies in the resource sector, especially critical minerals.
Senator O'Neill, second supplementary.
Thank you very much, President. The Albanese Labor government is opening valuable new export opportunities and creating more secure, well-paying local jobs through trade. What are the other broader benefits of this deal with the European Union, including how it will support businesses, strengthen industries and lower costs for Australian consumers?
Thank you, Senator O'Neill. Minister Farrell.
Thank you, President, and thank Senator O'Neill for her second supplementary question. This deal means more choices for consumers and lower prices at the checkout. It means cheaper auto parts, machinery and equipment. The elimination of EU tariffs on critical minerals makes resources exports more competitive. The FDA will help bring more EU investment into Australia. We've made a binding commitment to implement obligations under the Paris Agreement on climate change. This deal recognises the interests of Australians' First Nations people, including for art and intellectual property. And it does more to protect labour rights. It does more to protect labour rights than any other agreement Australia has ever entered into. It's clear that this is a progressive, once-in-a-generation trade deal that will deliver for all Australians.
Thank you, Minister. Senator Henderson.
Thank you very much, President. My question is to the Minister representing the Minister for Climate Change and Energy, Senator Ayres. Yesterday you said that you would find the information, if you can, about exactly what date the government became aware of the 6 shipments of vital fuel supplies being cancelled. It having been a further 24 hours, can you now tell us when the government became aware?
Thank you, Senator Henderson. Minister Ayres.
I should say as well that I'm advised by the Minister's office in relation to that 9% figure that I used yesterday that the figure today is 8% in relation to Senator Chandler's question. Since the beginning of the crisis in the Middle East, the Minister for Climate Change and Energy has been in daily contact with relevant fuel companies, and they've been sharing with government commercial in confidence information. And in turn, the government has been sharing what it knows with those companies. Over the last couple of weeks, companies have been telling the Minister and the government that they've locked in supply until mid-April. What the government won't do is tweet out or release commercial in confidence information on a daily basis. On Saturday, the Minister spoke to industry representatives and asked his department to confirm the ships that have been cancelled. In a way that does not breach commercial in confidence, the Minister provided the information in an aggregate way on Sunday's interview. Now, the opposition could be, in this case.
Mr Ayres, please resume your seat. Senator Henderson.
Point of order on direct relevance. President, my question was when
I'm aware of
the
your
government
question,
became
Senator
aware
Henderson,
of the 6 cancelled
and the
ships.
minister is being directly relevant to your question. Minister Ayres, please continue.
As I've indicated, the information that we've provided is information that we believe is in the public interest in a way that doesn't breach the commercial and confidence obligations that the minister has in those discussions. And as I've indicated, there are 2 ways that a party of opposition can conduct itself when there's a set of national challenges. One is to hector and to conduct a sort of hyperventilation I think maybe the sort of the real grievance politics.
Thank you, Minister.
Senator
The time
Patterson.
for answering has expired. Senator Henderson, first supplementary.
Minister, this is not a matter of something being commercial in confidence. This is in the national interest. Yesterday, when asked whether any further fuel shipments have been contracted, you again said you would try to get that further information. It's been 24 hours. I again ask about when you learnt about the 6 cancelled shipments and whether any further shipments have been contracted, and I again stress that this is a matter of national interest.
Thank you, Senator Henderson. Minister Ayres.
Well, Senator, I'd just refer you to my previous answer. As I said yesterday, if there's more information that we can provide about when information was provided, I did say in my previous answer that on Saturday the minister spoke to industry representatives and asked his department to confirm the ships that have been cancelled. But I do say there are 2 ways of conducting yourself as an opposition when there is a challenge. You can, as Senator Cash says, ask questions. You can provide positive solutions. Or you can just continue to degenerate in the way that you have. You can continue to hyperventilate. You can continue to run a negative, carping, partisan campaign, or you can front up in the national interest. There's a first time for everything, I suppose.
Thank you, Minister. The time for answering has expired. Senator Henderson, second supplementary.
Minister, you have just declined to tell this Senate whether any other shipments have been contracted to replace those that have been cancelled. I would put to you that that is a national disgrace. On the basis that you are refusing to provide that information, please explain to Australians why they are not entitled to that information, and on that basis, how many more days' supply Australia currently has.
Excellent question.
Thank you, Senator Henderson. Minister Ayres.
Well, Senator, that is...
Senator O'Neill.
Imputation of motive that was embedded in that
order?
question. The point of order is that the senator should withdraw imputation of motive.
Senator O'Neill, I did not hear what was said. I don't know which senator you're referring to. I will seek advice from the clerk, but I'm not sure what I can do here. Order. Senator Henderson.
Just on the point of order, President, I was asking a question about reiterating the importance of the national interest, and the minister is the responsible minister in the Senate.
Right. Senator O'Neill thinks an imputation was made. I didn't hear it. The clerk didn't hear it. I am going to invite Senator Henderson, in the interests of the chamber, not on a point of order, but in the interest, if she thinks she said so. Excuse me, Senator McKenzie, I believe that I'm speaking. My role in this chamber is to make sure debate is respectful, and it's always challenging at question time. So I'm simply asking, in the interest of the chamber, I'm not asking for a withdrawal. If Senator Henderson thinks anything she said was untoward, that she withdraw. Okay.
President, I'm very happy to rephrase the question to assist the chamber. And I would again—
No, I've asked you to withdraw.
You said that you didn't hear what I said.
No.
And so—
Senator Henderson, you are not in a debate with me. I'm well aware of what the question is. There was a Senator O'Neill has stood and suggested there was an imputation. I've simply said, if you believe there was an imputation, in the interest of the chamber, to withdraw it. But it is up to you. I don't need the question repeated. If you want to withdraw, you can. If you don't want to, I will continue to call the minister. Minister.
Well, thank you very much. What I can report is that in terms of petrol, on the 3rd of March there were 36 days. On the 10th of March, prior to the minimum stockholding obligation release, there were 37. And on the 17th of March, the most recent figures I have, there are 38 days in relation to unleaded petrol. Jet fuel, 29 on the 3rd of March. The 10th of March, 29. That is prior to the MSO release. And on the 17th of March, 30. In relation to diesel, 32 days on the 3rd of March, 30 on the 10th of March and 30 on the 17th of March. In addition to that, the minister has made a fresh announcement today about changing standards in relation to diesel. That will free up more diesel in the system, and if I get an opportunity to get asked another question on these questions, I'll be delighted to help.
The time for answering has expired. Senator Shoebridge.
Thanks very much, President. My question is to the Minister for Foreign Affairs, Minister Wong. Minister, your government was one of the first in the world to support Donald Trump and Benjamin Netanyahu's war in the Middle East. Now the awful consequences are becoming real for Australians. I have a simple question for you. Do you still support this war?
Thank you, Senator Shoebridge. Minister Wong.
Thank you, President. One of the things that I think it might be useful to remind Senator Shoebridge and the Greens political party of is the actions of the Iranian regime, including the brutal massacring of its own people. The actions of the Iranian regime, including directing attacks on Australians here on Australian soil. The actions of the Iranian regime in sponsoring its proxies, including Hamas and Hezbollah. And the actions of the Iranian regime in sponsoring terrorism around the world. So what we made very clear is the basis of our support for actions which were designed to prevent Iran continuing to be a threat to peace and security internationally. Now, I appreciate that you don't agree with that, Senator, but that is the basis of our position. We also made it very clear that we were not proposing to join in engaging in strikes on Iran. I know that's a fact that the Greens political party seek to gloss over. That we— How is this not relevant?
Please resume your seat. Senator Shoebridge.
My point of order.
Yep.
I have a point of order.
Yes.
Thank you, President. My point of order is direct relevance. My question was simple, and the minister refuses to address it. Do you still support the war?
Senator Shoebridge, there's
direct relevance.
Senator Shoebridge, the minister is being relevant to your question. I'll invite the minister to continue.
What we know is that you seek to generate. No, your outrage machine, actually. What you want is an outrage machine to campaign with. And it doesn't suit you to talk about the thousands of people the regime has killed.
Order.
It doesn't suit you to confirm that Australia has said we are only engaging in defensive action. It doesn't suit you to remember that there are tens of thousands of Australians that we are defending as a consequence of the deployment of ADF personnel in the Middle East. You just want to yell at me because
Minister
these
Wong,
are
could you
inconvenient
resume your
facts.
seat, please? Minister Wong. Senator Green.
Interjections are disorderly. I cannot hear what the minister is saying.
I have asked for order. I called you Senator Shoebridge and I called you Senator Ormond-Payne. I expect there to be silence. Minister, did you wish to continue?
You see, Senator Shoebridge doesn't like the
now
answers.
We're out of time.
Because
Sorry, Minister. Senator Shoebridge, first supplementary.
Yeah, thanks, President. Minister, as part of this war, the Israeli government have said they want to turn southern Lebanon into another Gaza. There are hundreds of thousands of Lebanese Australians who are watching their loved ones be displaced and their country destroyed. Will you oppose this latest Israeli invasion of Lebanon?
Thank you, Senator Shoebridge. Minister Wong.
If I can just finish my previous answer. No, well, I am actually. It's not up to you. It's not up to you, Senator Shoebridge. I know you'd like to tell everyone what to do in this place.
Minister Wong. Senator Shoebridge.
Well, I have a point of order, which is the minister is required to be relevant to the question she's been asked. She can't choose her own adventure. The relevance is to the
Senator
question the minister has just been asked.
To be fair, the interjections started the minute the minister stood. She has not begun to address the question, so I will invite Minister Wong to continue.
I will get to that if I could finish my answer without interruption. I give you a commitment I will get to the response on that.
Order, Senator Ormond-Payne. Minister Wong, please resume your seat. Senator Ormond-Payne, I indicated to you yesterday that I will name you. I've had to call you and call you and call you. You are being absolutely disrespectful to me and this chamber, and I will name you if you won't be quiet. Minister Wong, please continue.
The point I was making is Senator Shoebridge and the Greens political party don't like the answer because the facts don't suit the Greens' outrage machine. They don't suit your outrage machine. The fact that they happen to be the truth is an inconvenient fact for you. In relation to Lebanon, I have been very clear that we are gravely concerned about the expansion of the conflict into Lebanon. We are deeply concerned about the loss of life, the displacement of more than 1 million citizens, including over 200,000 children. We have announced a further $5 million in humanitarian assistance to support civilians in Lebanon, and we have said a major Israeli ground offensive will only exacerbate the worsening. I'm answering your question.
Thank you, Minister. The time for answering has expired. Senator Shoebridge. Senator Shoebridge. I just need there to be silence. Senator Shoebridge.
Minister, every day this war and chaos continue. The lives of people here in Australia, across the world, get worse. Why is Australia not urgently joining with other middle powers to help end this illegal war by refusing to support any part of US war fighting? Withdraw support from this illegal war from the US and Israel.
Thank you, Senator Shoebridge. Minister Wong.
Senator, what I was going to say, which you interrupted and was a direct response to your question, was a major Israeli ground offensive into Lebanon will only exacerbate the worsening humanitarian situation in the country. I've said that on multiple occasions, and that is Australia's position.
Thank you, Minister. Senator De Liga. The minister's finished her response. Senator Shoebridge. Senator Shoebridge, resume your seat, please. Senator Shoebridge, the minister has concluded her answer. Senator Shoebridge. Senator Shoebridge. Senator Shoebridge, come to order or I will name you. You are being disrespectful. Senator De Liga.
Thank you very much, President. And my question is to the Minister for Foreign Affairs, Senator Wong. We're seeing a global landscape defined by increasing economic and geostrategic instability. How is the Albanese Labor government deepening our relationship with the European Union to secure Australia's interests now and into the future?
Thank you, Senator Daliga. Minister Wong.
Thank you to Senator Daliga, and thank you, President. Earlier today I joined the Prime Minister and colleagues in welcoming the President of the European Commissioner, Ursula von der Leyen. Her visit marks a defining moment in the bilateral relationship between Australia and the European Union. And in addition to the landmark free trade agreement Minister Farrell has outlined, and congratulations to Minister Farrell on his outstanding negotiations, I can indicate we have also announced the signing of a new security and defence partnership, and I want to thank my good friend, European Union High Representative for Foreign Affairs, Kaja Kallas, for our work together on this agreement. Through this partnership, Australia and the European Union will work to build our capacity and resilience to manage complex security threats and deepen cooperation to combat online radicalisation and to counter terrorism financing. We will also establish a new space security dialogue. This partnership underlines our shared commitment to strengthening cooperation, to keeping people safe, underlines our support for global peace and security, including reaffirming our steadfast support for Ukraine in the face of Russia's illegal full-scale invasion. Alongside the Free Trade Agreement and the Strategic Defence Partnership, which do matter to the country, Senator McKenzie, we are also commencing negotiations on association to Horizon Europe for 2027. Critical technologies are an economic asset and a strategic asset in the modern world, and these new agreements reflect Australia's commitment to work with the European Union and other partners to make this country more secure, to grow Australia's prosperity and to deliver for Australians in a less predictable world.
Thank you, Minister. Senator Daliga, first supplementary.
Thanks, Minister, for that comprehensive answer. What is the significance of the three announcements today, and why is it important to partner with the EU across both economic and security domains?
Minister Wong.
Thank you to Senator Daliga for that question, and it's a very important point, and that's why the three initiatives announced today, the Free Trade Agreement, the Security and Defence Partnership, and our intention to join Horizon Europe, the world's largest research and innovation fund, are each individually important, but more importantly, as a package, they are greater than the sum of their parts. There is a multiplier effect, because deeper trade, research and innovation integration and closer security ties turbocharges our relationship with Europe. Driving this cooperation in emerging and critical technologies will also enable greater productivity, innovation and strengthen Australia's national security. As I said earlier, critical technologies are both an economic and a strategic asset. This is what we are doing to secure Australia's place in the world today and into the future.
Thank you, Minister. Senator Daliga, second supplementary.
Thank you very much, President. It's never been more important to work together with traditional and new partners to safeguard against future uncertainty. How does Australia's partnering more closely with the EU and middle powers help deliver on our national interest?
Minister.
Since we came to office, we have been working to make Australia more secure in a world that is much less predictable. And at the heart of that effort is strengthening and diversifying our relationships, what I've described as amplified middle power diplomacy. In these uncertain times, we work to shape a world where no country dominates and no country is dominated. We are pursuing new alignments to better secure our collective security and prosperity, as we have seen this month with Europe and with Canada. And our deepening partnership with the European Union across economic, security, defence, research and innovation demonstrates to Australians, to our region and to the world that when we can all work together, we all benefit. The coalition might be focused on internal matters, about who they should be swapping preferences with and how they outflank one nation. But Labor and this government, we are delivering for Australians in a less predictable world.
Thank you, Minister. I advise the chamber that Senator Lambie has given her question to Senator Payman. Senator Payman.
Thank you, President. My question is to the Minister representing the Minister for Employment and Workplace Relations, Senator Watt. Last year, it became a criminal offence to intentionally underpay workers. A review of these laws began in December and is expected to be completed in June. In the 15 months since wage theft was criminalised, a section of the Fair Work Ombudsman, with a team of 16.7 full-time equivalent workers, has been investigating allegations of wage theft. This team was allocated $49 million over 4 years, but it was revealed at estimates hearings in February that this team has not referred a single matter to the Federal Police or Commonwealth DPP. Minister, is it still the case that not one referral has been made?
Thank you, Senator Payman. Minister Watt.
Thanks, President, and thanks, Senator Payman, for the question. I will attempt to come back to you as soon as I can with any specific information on the number of referrals that have occurred to the police. But what I would point out is that it took a federal Labor government to make wage theft a crime. We have known for many that, as long as anyone could remember, quite rightly, employees who stole from their employer could be subject to criminal sanction. But what was the case until this Labor government came along was that employers who deliberately stole wages from their employees could not be subject to criminal penalties, as they should be. That was unfair. It was double standards and different standards between employers and employees. So the Albanese Labor government is very proud of the fact that we did change the law to make sure that employers who deliberately steal wages of their employees can be subject to criminal punishments. It's also worth remembering that when we did that, when we passed those laws, they were not supported by all members of this chamber, because what I remember is that members of the Liberal Party, members of the National Party and, wait for it, the so-called Battlers Party One Nation voted against laws to make it a criminal offence for employers to steal wages from their employees. And Senator Bell might be smirking up there because, understandably, he wasn't a senator for New South Wales, is it? Is it New South Wales he's a senator for? Queensland. Or is it Queensland? A senator of New South Wales, sorry, I forget which state you're from. Senator Bell may not have been here, but we remember that One Nation voted with the Liberals and Nationals, as they almost always do, to punish workers rather than to stand up for them, and you will never get that from a Labor government.
Thank you, Senator Watt. Senator Payman, first supplementary.
Thank you, President. Well, Minister, between 2020 and 2025, $1.76 billion worth of wages stolen from workers has been paid back. In tertiary education, as well as sectors like retail and hospitality, wage theft remains rife. Workers in these sectors are often casually employed and have limited job security. So besides criminalising wage theft, what else is the government doing to ensure that these workers are being paid what they have earned?
Thank you, Senator Payman. Minister Watt.
Well, what this Labor government is doing is putting in place the most worker and union-friendly laws that Australia has ever seen, because we proudly stand on the side of workers and their rights in the workplace, something you will never get from the Liberal Party, the National Party or the One Nation Party, who will always take the side of employers. Senator Cash has come into this chamber and said that they proudly stand on the side of employers. And we know that's what One Nation do, as well as the National Party. So we make no apologies whatsoever for passing laws that protect the rights of workers. And Senator Payman is correct to say that there are some sectors of our economy where we do see shocking rates of wage theft and other forms of exploitation, in particular hospitality and retail. So that's why we changed the law. I've already said that I'll come back to the senator with any information that I can about referrals, but our laws are completely focused on restoring the balance in the workplace relations system and making sure that workers get a fair go.
The time for answering has expired. Senator Payman, second supplementary.
Thank you, President. Minister, workers and taxpayers are paying millions of dollars to fund an office of 16 full-time workers who have not referred a single case as we know it since Senate estimates in February. Not a single case of wage theft to police, while workers are losing millions more in wage theft that goes unpunished. Minister, was criminalising wage theft a performative reform, given it's costing workers more than it has returned to them?
Thank you, Senator Payman. Minister Watt.
Senator Payman, with the greatest of respect, I'm not sure you'd want to talk about performative acts in this chamber. What this government is about is serious action to support working Australians. It's again why we've passed laws to not only tackle wage theft and criminalise wage theft by employers, but we've also actively supported increases to the minimum wage for the lowest paid Australians, something the former government never did. It's why we've introduced the same job, same pay laws, something that again One Nation opposed, along with their friends in the Liberal and the National Party. This government, a Labor government, will always proudly stand up for the rights of working Australians, and that will never change.
Thank you, Minister. Senator Pocock. David Pocock.
Thank you, President. My question is to the Minister representing the Prime Minister, Minister Wong. Minister, today is 1,000 days since Peter Murphy handed your government her landmark review, recommending that your government phase in a ban on gambling ads over 3 years. She did something rare in this place. She brought together members of that committee to make a unanimous recommendation. She brought together Labor, Liberal, Nationals and an Independent. That's hard to do. I understand that the Prime Minister's department has a response ready to go, but it's being held back by the Prime Minister. Why doesn't the Prime Minister want to respond to the Murphy report?
Thank you, Senator Pocock. Minister Wong.
Senator, I would say I think we all know how important Peter Murphy's work was, and as a consequence of that report, a lot of action has been taken. I don't think it's reasonable. You make a number of assertions in your question. I don't agree with them, and I think they're frankly unnecessarily personal. But what I would say to you is we do recognise this is a real issue. It is the case, I think objectively, that we've taken more action than any government since Federation to tackle online gambling harms, and we will continue to act. We are, until action was taken by the government, for example, betting firms and poker machine companies were able to claim millions of dollars a year in research and development expenses. The government is fixing that. This builds on significant action we have already taken. I know the Prime Minister and other ministers continue to engage across the community on this issue, which is important.
Thank you, Minister. Senator Pocock, first supplementary.
Thank you, President. Thank you, Minister. It's a long list of achievements. Much of that work was started under the Coalition. Not a single recommendation of the Murphy report has been implemented. And the thing we keep hearing as a crossbench is that it's the Prime Minister who's holding this up. And I'm wondering what the Prime Minister's response is that the normalisation of gambling has been happening under the Albanese Labor government's watch. None of the things you've mentioned stop gambling advertising.
Thank you, Senator Pocock. Minister Wong.
Senator, I'm not. Well, my advice, and I know you've been much more focused on this than than I have.
Order. Order.
We do have an international crisis at the moment, and before that. No, I'm just saying I personally have not been as engaged as you, but I don't know that your assertions are correct to suggest that the government has not done anything. I don't think that is correct at all. Action the government has taken includes banning the use of credit cards for online wagering, establishing mandatory customer ID pre-verification for online wagering, implementing monthly win-loss statements, strengthening classification of video games that contain gambling-like content, and launching the National Self-Exclusion Register. So I think the assertion—
Order.
Are you, Senator Henderson, could I answer his question rather than yours?
Order.
You've had a question. It didn't go well.
Order on my left. Order. Senator Pocock, second supplementary.
Thank you, President. Minister, I'm asking about the Murphy report. Not a single one of those things was mentioned as a recommendation in the Murphy report. Recent research by Deakin University shows that children themselves are asking the Prime Minister to ban gambling ads. The young Australians who come and watch us. Here's a quote from a 12-year-old boy in New South Wales. He's supposed to be responsible for having a good country, but we're making a bad country because of gambling. Do the voices of children matter to the Prime Minister, and will we see the banning of gambling advertising this term?
Thank you, Senator Pocock. Minister Wong.
Again, I find the way you're personalising this uncomfortable, Senator. I think the Prime Minister has demonstrated, might be good in a social media grab, but I think the Prime Minister has demonstrated.
Order. Order. Yes, seriously. Order on my left. Order. 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 Minister Wong, please continue.
It is a serious topic, which is why I think the way the question was framed was unfortunate.
Order.
Does anybody want me to answer the question, or are you just going to interject? At the moment, I've got Senator McKenzie, Senator Shoebridge. I'm trying to answer your question, Senator Pocock.
Order across the chamber. Order. Order. Minister Wong, please continue. Minister Wong, have you concluded? Thank you. Senator Bell.
Thank you, President. My question is to the Minister representing the Minister for Climate Change and Energy, Senator Ayres. Experts are now warning that Labor's fuel failure is choking supplies and driving up the price of essential building materials like PVC pipes. The pipes that go into every new home and every stretch of basic infrastructure. Industry is experiencing widespread price rises of up to 35%. Labor's failures are blowing out the cost and timing of building critical new homes Australians desperately need, piling more pressure onto Labor's cost living crisis. With Australians already smashed by rising rents, rising mortgages and rising prices, what is the government doing to stop its fuel failure driving up the cost of essential PVC pipes so that the bowsers running dry under Labor today don't become Bunnings shelves running dry tomorrow?
Thank you, Senator Bell. Minister Ayres.
I suppose what I object to from the senator from Queensland is that implicit in that question, and it's gone with some of the questions that have come from over here, is that there are challenges in terms of fuel that are because the government in Iran has blockaded the Strait of Hormuz. And there are, and we will come to these questions, challenges in price terms, but not immediate shortages in terms of PVC piping. That is an opportunity for Australians to pull together, not to blame the government to seek a partisan opportunity in terms of how we respond to a set of national challenges. Now, this government, whether it's in terms of petrol or diesel or PVC or urea or fertiliser supplies more broadly, has acted in a way that no previous government has to secure, in terms of fuel supplies, a minimum stockholding obligation that is larger than it has been for 15 years, because the government that was run by this lot over here, that you vote with every day of the week in your own peculiar uni-party, they failed to act. And in fact what they did, worse than that, was they closed down 4 out of 6 refineries. Now Mr Taylor said, "I kept the last 2 open," he said. The day before yesterday, I kept the last 2 open. The only thing he was missing was time. If he got 5 more minutes, he would have closed those down too.
Thank you, Minister. Senator Bell, first supplementary.
Minister, One Nation has called for urgent cost of living relief for families and businesses in the form of a GST exemption on building materials.
Senator Bell, I'm very sorry. There is interjections across the chamber. I need— Senator Henderson, you were one of the people I was referring to. There needs to be quiet so I can hear the question. Senator Bell, please continue.
Minister, will the government back this practical, measured response to reduce the cost of building goods by 10% and give relief to Australians struggling with crippling housing and construction costs caused by the Labor government's fuel and energy failures?
Thank you, Senator Bell. Minister Ayres.
Well, the idea, it is certainly true that what we're seeing, particularly in the construction industry, particularly around PVC piping, I know this not only from the information that my department provides to me, but from the phone calls that I get from friends across the building industry in regional New South Wales, who, of course, are getting notices that say that prices are going up. Prices are going up. There are no immediate shortages, but prices are going up, and that is a problem for people in the construction industry. What is not true is to put those price rises at the feet of anyone but the murderous dictatorship in Iran. Right? That is unpatriotic. That is un-Australian. That is dishonest. That is disingenuous. That is very, very unhelpful if our job is to pull together for Australians.
Thank you, Minister. The time for answering has expired. Senator Bell, second supplementary.
Minister, Australia is at the mercy of fragile supply chains. No fuel at more than 50 petrol stations in New South Wales today, shortages and soaring prices for essential building supplies like PVC pipes, and that situation is getting worse. What will it take for Labor to admit that its net zero obsession has helped drive Australia into this mess? When will the government put Australia's energy security first and scrap net zero before even more damage is done to the economy and to our nation's cost of living?
Senator Bell, that is quite a tenuous link, but I will invite the minister to answer the question. Minister Ayres.
Go. I'll give it a go. I mean, that is evidence of a disordered mind, that question. That is what that is.
Senator Ayres.
Draw.
Thank you.
I withdraw. Honestly, making a connection between our energy security approach and the fact that Australia imports products from around the world, including being dependent for our petrol fleet on imported petrol, because we don't have, Senator, we don't have crude oil reserves in Australia that are economic. We don't have. We used to have 6 petrol refineries, 6 fuel refineries. We now have 2. We now have 2 because Mr Taylor didn't get around to closing the last 2, and you and your mates here have done more to damage Australian industrial capability than anybody else in Australian history. More manufacturing jobs departed Australia under this lot than at any time in Australian history, and Senator Canavan has got more to be ashamed of in terms of manufacturing jobs than anybody else in Australian political history.
Senator Ananda Raja.
President, science is the solution. My question is to the Minister for Science, Senator Ayres. The Albanese Labor government is backing a modern research and development system to meet Australia's big collective challenges. To this end, today the government announced that it will enter formal negotiations to associate with the Horizon Europe research scheme. What is Horizon Europe, and what benefits will this association provide for Australian scientists and researchers?
Thank you, Senator Ananda Raja. Minister Ayres.
Well, thanks, Senator Ananda Raja. President, in addition to having the President of the European Commission visit us in Parliament today, it is indeed Science Meets Parliament Week, when our leading scientists come to Parliament to connect with politicians. And it's very fitting, and I'm very proud that today we announced that we would enter treaty-level talks to associate with Horizon Europe. That is the largest pool of research and innovation funds in the world. It has a current budget of 155 billion Australian dollars. That means that Australian scientists, universities and research organisations can mount joint research efforts, apply for grants that are very substantial in partner trusted economies where we have much in common in security terms, in energy terms, in technology terms, for agricultural purposes, artificial intelligence, quantum science, all of these areas where Australia has an excellent reputation in our universities and our science institutions. This gives us access. This gives our researchers access to more funds, to more collaborations, to more colleagues to be able to advance Australia's interest. Our universities do remarkable things in our research institutions, whether it's in agriculture or mining or defence, food security, all of these areas, it's Australian researchers and Australian scientists. And this is just one more way of the Australian government backing that effort and giving them an opportunity to collaborate, again, as I say, with trusted partners in a way that advances the national interest.
Thank you, Minister. Senator Ananda Raja, first supplementary.
Thank you, Minister. Australia's science and research system is critical to delivering a future made in Australia. What contribution do Australian scientists and researchers make to national resilience and productivity growth?
Thank you, Senator. Minister Ayres.
Well, this is part of a series of announcements that have been made today. The fine work that Senator Farrell has led and trade diversification with our partners in the European Union. The announcements in relation to defence partnerships that Senator Wong was answering questions about. This in terms of our research and development capacity. These are all resilience measures that are about diversifying our economy, strengthening our research and science capability and strengthening our national security. Last week, recently, I released the Ambitious Australia Strategic Examination of Research and Development report that was led by Robin Denham and a series of other notable Australians. That makes it clear what the private and public challenge is for Australia's research and development sector and what it is that we need to do to meet the big collective challenges that Australia faces.
Thank you, Minister. Senator Ananda Raja, second supplementary.
Minister, scientists and researchers work hard for the benefit of all Australians. How does the Albanese Labor government recognise the contribution Australian scientists make? Why has the government chosen this approach?
Thank you, Senator Ananda Raja. Minister Ayres.
Well, one of the observations that report that I just referred to makes is that there is $15 billion being spent across the Australian system in 160 programs in research and development across government this financial year. And we need to make sure that that effort is directed in the national interest. We need to make sure that it aligns with our national science priorities, because we support science, unequivocally support our research institutions and our scientists. Now, there are alternative approaches that are all about misrepresenting and diminishing science and scientists and empirical knowledge. I saw last year Senator Canavan had a breaking Twitter update where he posted a screenshot that claimed that the CSIRO had shown coal to be the cheapest form of power. The only issue was that he'd cropped the CSIRO graphic to dishonestly convey the opposite to what it actually meant.
Time for answering has expired.
You know what? Somebody's got to back Australian scientists, so we will.
Order. Senator Kovacic.
My question is to the Minister for Industry and Innovation, Senator Ayres. There have been media reports that Australia's largest ammonia plant, the Yarra Pilbara facility near Karratha, will be offline for up to 2 months. In addition, The Australian has reported that a second ammonia manufacturer in Kooragang in New South Wales is now also offline. Given these operations are critical supplies of product used in the agriculture and mining sectors, and noting this is occurring while fertilizer and ammonia supplies through the Strait of Hormuz have been halted, what steps have you taken as Industry Minister to ensure that these facilities get back online as soon as possible?
Thank you, Senator Kovacic. Minister Ayres.
Thanks, Senator Kovacic. President, Australia imports around 65% of urea-based fertilisers from the Middle East. So we are, to a very large extent, import dependent. Local ammonia capacity matters. It is not all in Australia for the purpose of fertiliser. Ammonia has other industrial and particularly mining explosive applications. In terms of the approach that we're taking to those questions, of course, besides watching what is happening in terms of shipments closely and working with suppliers to see if there are additional supplies that can be brought on stream. Of course, we are working with importers, producers, farmers, the National Farmers Federation and Fertiliser Australia to coordinate our actions. And there are a series of practical actions that we are, of course, considering to work with producers and with the production sector, the people who make these products, to try and make sure that we're doing what we can. We're doing what we can to support this activity. Just make the point that in terms of the Dyno Nobel facility near Mount Isa, which is closely related to, in a symbiotic relationship with, the copper smelter, that is, Senator Ruston, symbiotic, that is, they use each other's products and rely upon each other, that the federal government's intervention in Mount Isa means that that facility has been purchased and will continue to run. We're watching that very closely too, but that is in the national interest because of the federal government's intervention.
Thank you, Minister Ayres. Senator Kovacic, first supplementary.
Minister, what contingencies, if any, are currently in place to manage potential shortages or supply chain disruptions arising from these outages?
Thank you, Senator Kovacic. Minister Ayres.
Well, there is no immediate national shortage of fertilisers. No immediate national shortage. But planting season.
Just Senator Kovacic, I haven't called you. Minister Ayres, please resume your seat. Senator Kovacic.
Relevance for clarification. I didn't say that there were shortages. I asked to manage potential shortages.
Sure. I think that's a debating point, but the minister, and I'm not quite sure. Thank you. Order. Order. Minister, please continue.
I was 9 seconds in, just pointing out that there's no immediate national shortage of fertilisers. But winter planting is commencing, and in some parts of the economy, harvesting is happening at the same time. We do rely upon imports. I met together with Ministers Bowen and Collins with the National Farmers Federation and fertiliser industry representatives just last week. That was the second meeting that we'd had. We are continuing to work through making sure that we are contributing what we can here, to secure supplies of fertiliser for Australian farmers who need it.
Thank you, Minister. Senator Kovacic, second supplementary.
Minister, yesterday in question time, Minister Wong told the Senate that the majority of fertiliser required is already on the water or in the country. Yet the National Farmers Federation president has warned that if in-crop urea requirements cannot be met after May, the winter crop in Australia could be halved. Can you guarantee the supply of fertiliser and ammonium nitrate for farmers and miners?
Thank you, Senator Kovacic. Minister Ayres.
What I can guarantee is that not just the government but also industry, in cooperation with the government, are using their networks to engage with alternative suppliers, including with producers in Southeast Asia. The Department of Agriculture, Forestry and Fishing and my department are engaged in that work. We're working on allowing sector coordination to make sure that fertiliser gets to where it is needed, and the government is getting the latest information on what farmers and the agriculture sector needs, and making sure that we're communicating in a transparent way with not just the producers but with the farming sector itself. The government's Coordinator General is meeting state and territory counterparts today, and her team is making sure that the approach that we are taking at the Commonwealth level is linked up with each of the states and territories for all the reasons that you just set out.
Minister Wong.
I ask that further questions be placed on notice. Thank you.